Today it's time for a professional match of StarCraft 2, and what I've got for you is a Zerg versus Terran on the map Simulacrum. ZVT, I mean, over the last few weeks especially, it's become a ridiculously good matchup. There's so much variety right now in the strategies that players can play on both sides, especially now with Terran Mech becoming really popular and with the Brood Lord Infestor turtle style gone. I really am enjoying this matchup. But spawning in the bottom right hand corner of the map, playing with the red Zerg drones from South Korea, we're looking inside of the main base of Solar. He's been a pro gamer for many years. His opponent, he's actually been around for a very long time as well, but not until maybe like a half year or so ago is where he's really started to shine. I am starting to become the biggest fanboy of the Terran player here in the top left, who goes by the name of Cure. I know that I've been really hyping him up over the last few casts, but there's no denying that he's getting ridiculously good, and if he can like, you know, keep his cool while playing in offline tournaments, I really think he's going to be one of the greatest Terran players going into 2020, because some of the games I've seen him play recently, man, they are ridiculous. Obviously playing offline, very different from playing online. Likewise, actually, some of you may be familiar with the player known by the name of Clem. He's also one of my favorites going into 2020. He's 17 years old from France. I actually want to cast some more of his games as well in the near future on this channel. He's been getting ridiculously good as well, improving much quicker than the average Terran pro gamer out there. So those are the two names that I'm going to keep an eye out on, but hopefully Cure can make it happen right here against Solar, who's really been, I think he's been like at the top of the game since like 2014 or so. He's been around for a very long time, and he's a very strong Zerg player. Here's the thing. In order to be like a good tournament player, you need to have multiple strategies, right? If you play on the ladder, you can certainly get away with just playing one build order in every single matchup and just, you know, perfect that. You can play one strategy, as long as it's like a standard, like a quote-unquote standard strategy, you should be able to max that one out and get very good results. You don't have to get too fancy. However, in order to be a tournament player, you can't just do the same build order every single time, because if you do, your opponents will exploit the weaknesses and they will just simply cut corners and get ahead that way just because you're a predictable player. I really feel like that's one of Solar's strengths. He really plays a variety of builds all the time. He doesn't really go for like the same strategy ever. Well, okay, he does have some similar build orders, but he really is good at playing both the macro game, playing the aggressive game, playing the cheesy game. He really is the complete package when it comes to playing with the Zerg pieces. Although, he is certainly considered to be a little bit below the skill level of, say, like a Dark. Say, for example, like a Zero or a Raynor or something along those lines. Now, one Zergling actually got killed so far by that Reaper. Ooh, getting the tumor. Oh, yeah, getting the tumor is massive. This right now forces Solar to spend the 25 energy that it will gather here in a little bit, rather than on a Queen Inject on another Creep Tumor. So essentially, by killing that first tumor, I mean, he could still do it, but then his creep strat is really going to hurt. By killing that creep tumor, he essentially now also delayed one of those Queen Injects. Nicely done right there by Cure, who still has that Reaper alive, now hopping into the main base. Now, the reason why I was talking about that build order variety, and actually hold that thought, because he's once again working on a drone. Okay, should be deflected here without too much trouble. I feel like Cure is a player who's maybe playing the same strategy a little bit too often, okay? I've seen him go for the same bio-based build order for a very long time. Now, I like this. Look at that. Going for the Fusion Core does mean that he wants to go for that Battlecruiser opener, very likely. But he loves playing the bio-based style. Now, two Hellions are actually currently driving across the map. Zergling's a little bit out of position. Queen's also busy. That means that they will be able to get into the mineral line. This only works because of the build that Solar is going for, so well read there by Cure. Drones line up. Gotta be careful. Takes 3 shots of a Hellion to kill these. A couple of them are very low. Okay, 2 workers going down here. This build order, and by the way, 2 more Hellions now actually join in. This build order only works that Cure is going for because of the strat that Solar is playing. Is he gonna get the last one? There you go. Okay, 5 workers in the grand scheme of things. I think that's pretty reasonable. Cute little play there, though. So Solar decided to go for the triple hatch opener, where you go for the 3rd hatchery before starting up Zergling speed. The Zergling speed with this build is timed so that you do have link speed done by the time the 4 Hellions manage to get across the map, but you won't have it done by the time the first 2 Hellions manage to make their way across if they drive straight up. It's a pretty clever build, but also a little bit risky, because if the Queens are positioned properly, the Zergling can sometimes run around the Hellions and get to the other side of the map. So there was a little bit of a gamble there. Is 5 drones the end of the world? No. I feel like getting the Creep Tumor, though, in combination with those 5 workers is very, very nice. Inside of the main base, though, we do have that battlecruiser being produced, and this is not something Solar is currently aware of. So, just to come back to what I was saying earlier, right? I really want to see Cure play more Mech. Mech has become very popular now with Brood Lord Infestor being gone, and the Thor being way more powerful, and the Brood Lord being a little bit weaker, and the Infestor being a little bit weaker as well. I really want to see him play some Mech, so I'm hoping to see additional factories here coming up. I know he has been playing it, but not in any of the games that I've casted, at the very least recently. Okay, so Battlecruiser is going to come out. Where is it going to go? Second BC, by the way, also starts up. Looks like it will jump to the back of the natural. Queen's immediately running over here. No Spore Crawler in this area. So that's a little bit greedy here by Solar. He's certainly going to lose a couple of drones. In the meantime, the Hellions are also waiting right outside of the third base. Zerglings, though, ready to go for the surround. Queen's, in the meantime, working on that battlecruiser. Here we go. Will the Hellions be able to get something done? There is a Baneling nest, but no Banelings or anything like that. We do see that Spire coming up here for Solar. This is actually looking real good once again for the Terran player. Queens, in the meantime, are indeed scrambled over here. That doesn't mean that the battlecruiser once again has the opportunity to get back in. Oof. So risky. So risky. Can you please just make 2 Banelings? Just make 2 Banelings. You have the Baneling nest. Would be so much easier to defend. So 11 drones going down here so far. Solar, though, he has been overproducing workers for a little while already, so it's not the biggest of deals. This battlecruiser, though, is going to be a nuisance. And you know what? We do indeed now have double armory coming up and additional factories. It does get scouted immediately by Solar. But this certainly does mean that it's going to be a mech-based army here for Cure. So I like seeing this. Just to hark back on what I was saying earlier, if you play the same build orders every game, you become very predictable. Mixing it up is absolutely critical at this level of play. I mean, it's not like you can't win tournaments just by playing Bio only. I just really think that if you want to be the complete package, right? You want to be like the perfect player. Playing a variety of strats is certainly the way to go. Did he get the Yamato Cannon upgrade? No, he didn't. No Yamato Cannon. Getting the gas, though, it's very annoying. He does have tactical jump available. So as long as he doesn't overextend, there you go. He should be able to get on out of there. And then get, of course, repaired back up. Okay. So early game here, certainly going in favor of Cure. Is that really the end of the world for Zerg? Not really, no. He's got himself that Spire done, so he can start producing a couple of those Corruptors. Corruptors are excellent against Battlecruisers, primarily because Battlecruisers are way better at air-to-ground rather than air-to-air. Queen, transfuse? Oh, nope. Not gonna happen. He was probably busy looking inside of the main base, so 1 Queen does fall. I like this kind of early game start, though, because especially TVZ, it's very much so tempo-based. Especially when you play Bio, if you get that small advantage in the early game, you can really build on it in the mid-game as well. Now, for Mech, it's a little bit harder. Usually, Mech is played a bit more passively, especially when you go for, like, the classical version of Mech that's based around siege tanks. You can't really capitalize as easily on mistakes. But it's still important to slow down your opponent's creep spread to try and just simply stay ahead of the opponent as far as like the tech and whatnot goes as well. So Yamato Cannon is coming up right now. We do see double upgrades as well for the Terran. Oh, now this is a pretty aggressive move here by Cure, but he does roast all of those Zerglings. Does mean once again the Hellions manage to get into the mineral line. Is he going to be able to get anything done? 4 drones? 7 drones? Okay, the Hellions decide to get out. Does anyone remember watching StarCraft 2 back in like 2010? I'm pretty sure that whenever like 4 Hellions made their way into the mineral line in 2010, Zerg players would just lose every single last worker. It was so common to just see like 4 Hellions kill an entire mineral line. For some reason that doesn't happen anymore. I guess it's because of, well, players getting better, but also just like I guess it's to do with like unit positioning and whatnot, right? So one of the things that you see a lot right now, what we saw earlier as well when the BC was in the main base and the Hellions were threatening the third. Solar had like a bunch of Zerglings over here, then a bunch of Zergling over here, and then a bunch of Zerglings over here, if I'm not mistaken, right? So basically, as soon as like the Hellions rode up, they would immediately get surrounded. And it seems to be that is one of the main differences. But also just the splits have become way better. He does have triple, yep, triple Yamato Cannon. There you go. Gets 3 of those Corruptors, gets on out of there. Nicely done. You know what? In the grand scheme of things here, Cure actually is just going for the heavy expansion style. I'm quite surprised he even decided to go for an orbital command on the 4th base. That is pretty greedy, not gonna lie. I mean, you're not gonna have an easy time holding on here against the Zerg if they decide to hit you at multiple angles. Especially if they decide to go for like, say, like a Nidus with Swarm Host kind of approach. Doesn't look like that is going to be the case here, though, for Solar. He's already at Hive Tech. Should be able to go up towards a Greater Spire or something if he really wants to here in a little bit. Another command center now coming up as well. And speaking of command centers, 2 more are being produced over at the base over here. Okay. In the meantime, though, Solar really working on his creep spread as well. He's got himself all the workers that he really needs, even though he's lost a bunch at this point in the game. Losing Hellions, or losing a bunch of workers, not that big of a deal. Once again, though, the Hellions are going to try. They don't have the Blue Flame upgrade. That one is about halfway done right now. It's actually one of the most common questions I see in the comment section of the videos. Why don't Terran players get their Blue Flame upgrade sooner? Usually, Hellions, they are primarily a mineral drop. So, Terran Mech especially is very much so limited by the amount of gas. You can see it right now here for Cure. He's got a lot of minerals, but he doesn't have any gas. Whenever you have a lot of minerals, you just drop them on a bunch of those Hellions, and you use those to keep track of the Zerg player to slow down any of that creep spread, to maybe kill a couple of workers as well. But it's not really the priority at that point in the game to deal damage, right? Now later on, when you go up to like 7, 8 gases, that's the point where you can really start investing into some of those like later game upgrades as well. So it primarily comes down to the cost of the upgrade and the fact that you know, it's not a timing attack. Like, going for Hellions is not a timing attack. You just make them to try and slow down the Zerg player in any way you can. And yeah, Blue Flame obviously is good, but you don't really want to rush it out. It doesn't make sense. Like, you'd rather have that extra siege tank at that point in the game as well, just because Zerg is very good at just simply capitalizing if you overextend, right? So, yeah, Blue Flame is nice. It's not very good against roaches and everything along those lines. Here we go, though. Speaking of overextending, this may be a little bit too much. One siege tank does get picked off. Sadly for Solar there, did not quite manage to land the bile right in the center. This is a scary force, by the way, from Cure. Once again, working on that creep spread. Solar's been working hard at that. Battlecruisers, though, in the bottom section of the map, trying to get something done as well. This Zerg army really... Okay, I was going to say, this really doesn't look that big. There are Brood Lords. I don't know how I feel about Brood Lords, actually, against Thors. The thing is, there's already 8 Thors available. Brood Lords can be pretty good. It's just that over the last few weeks, every single game where I've seen Brood Lords, they just get shot out of the sky. I guess if you manage to, like, land a good, like, I don't know, Neural Parasite, or maybe like a... Yeah, okay, so there is a Viper out here, like a Blinding Cloud. You can get a lot of work done. But if the Thors are shooting, they will gun down those brutes very easily. Okay, so it looks like both players are making themselves up for the engagement right now. Siege tanks inching forward. Ooh, those Broodlings. They will be burned up very quickly by those Hellbats. Actually, the Battlecruiser is also very good when it comes to fighting against the little Broodlings. Siege tanks, once again, moving a little bit forward. Leapfrogging just the reinforcing ones. I think it comes down primarily here to the Blinding Cloud for sure. If he lands a good Blinding Cloud, he can certainly push this back. And there we go, massive Blinding Clouds do land on top of all of those Thors that force them to move forward. And that all of a sudden allows those brutes to get in range and gun all of them down before they moved back. Very clunky engagement, very risky move there, but it looks like Solar just barely holds. In the meantime, one Battlecruiser apparently decided to get a little bit cheeky. It will land one more Yamato cannon before being blown up into small little pieces. Very interesting. So what's the counter to Brood Lords? Thors. What if there's a lot of Brood Lords? Make more Thors. And that's exactly what the approach right now is for Cure. Thing is though, what is he gonna do against this push? There's really not that much anti-air. Then again, I guess Vikings can actually help out as well. Yeah, those Vikings are going to be pretty helpful. Solar all of a sudden smelling blood in the water. I didn't expect he was going to be able to really push back here, but he actually has a very scary force. Ooh, couple of big daddy Thors though, coming out of the main base, looking for the right fight. Infestors now joining in as well. We do see that Corruptor Cloud moving forward, or yes, Corruptor Swarm. A murder of Corruptors, whatever the Corruptor group is called. All right. He's got to just morph in more Brood Lords. This is very interesting. I haven't actually seen this before. So, once again, for those of you unfamiliar, the major change that was made is that Brood Lords now essentially are one range less compared to the Thor. So, Thors in the past used to be outranged by Brood Lords. Right now, they outrange Brood Lords. So, Brood Lords went from 10, or from 12 to 10 range. Thors are 11 range. And it makes a huge difference. Thors right now also attack twice as fast. but they deal half damage. Basically allowing them to be much more microable. This was quite nice. So once again, right, these kind of traits look really bad for Terran, but essentially what was happening there for Terran is that he's trading minerals for gas, right? So once again, these Banes are great, but this is a unit that Cure doesn't even really need, right? He's just making it to, like, you know, have something. Like, you need to have a couple of them to, like, kill any of Broodlings or maybe a couple of Locusts as well, but you don't really want to, like, keep too many of them in your army composition. And if Zerg needs to respond with Banelings, it means you get a favorable trait almost every time at this point in the game. Once again, though, Cure. Oh, wow, he's even looking to take this expansion. He's already taken the bottom left. Solar is actually happily mining as well, pretty much everywhere, but I'm starting to be a little bit worried for him. This, like, in a planetary fortress would be an excellent staging ground. Okay, so the expansion in the bottom left has been taken here by the Terran player, and he's actually advancing right now to one of the Zerg bases. Usually this is considered to be one of the Zerg bases. If he can get a planetary fortress there, that would be an excellent anchor to fall back into. Cure moving very deep onto the creep. Whenever I do this, I lose everything. Now, here's that Zerg force coming from the south. There are Infestors, there's also Vipers. He does have Neural Parasite too. Oh, massive parasitic bomb actually going down. Neural Parasites landed right there on a couple of those Thors. The Thors right now gunning down their friends. These parasitic bombs actually dealing a lot of damage as well. Corruptors desperately trying to clean up as many of those Vikings as they can. And it looks like eventually this Terran army should be deflected, but was that a favorable trade? I mean, those Neurals are absolutely massive. He does still have a couple of Neural Parasites available too. Oh, Fungal Growth now trying to slow down the advancement there of those Vikings. Brutes desperately flying away, trying to get out of here. Now, keep in mind, right, the Infested Terran's gone. And the lack of Infested Terran here really does hurt. If you could have actually had a couple of Infested Terrans there, it would have been much, much nicer. Solar, yeah, does deflect the army, but he's gonna have to go up against a Terran player who's got a planetary fortress where one of the Zerg bases should be. This is going to be a difficult location to push into. Does Solar know? Okay, well, he's seen that a gas was taken over there, so he probably assumes that this base will be acquired. He's still trying to spread a bunch of creep here on the southern section of the map, and that's nice and all, but he can't really do any counter pressure, right? Like, what are you going to do here as Zerg? I'm honestly a little bit worried as well. And I know, like, I play primarily Zerg, so I know this is going to sound a little bit biased, but I'm a little bit worried as well for what late game TVZ is going to look like as, like, time goes by. Because these Terran players are not getting any weaker. They're learning how to deal with the Zerg late game a lot better. And I'm not sure... And once again, this may be a little bit biased, right? Unintentionally. But I'm not sure exactly what Zerg should do in these kind of scenarios. So, Solar, he's going for Brood Lord Infestor. Not something I've seen too much of. But whenever I do see it, it just simply seems to get absolutely blown up. I haven't really seen this unit composition be all too efficient. I guess his idea is to go for the Brood Lords and then Neural Parasites, right? I think the Neural Parasite is what he's going for. Now, Neural Parasite has also been nerfed by one range, usually making these Infestors much more vulnerable, especially against, like, siege tanks. But here we go. Nice Fungal Growth does slow down the advancement, and this does now allow him to get the Neural Parasite on some of those Thors. The Thors, once again, gunning down all of those Terran units right now. The Brutes are closing the distance. Vikings in the sky, in the meantime, though, are raining down as well. A lot of those barrages on the Brutes. The Brutes eventually will probably be cleaned up. Excellent engagement there by Solar, but there's still so many Terran units just simply moving in. Yeah, Cure has way too much. His economy has been off the charts for a very, very long time. And you know what? He kind of played the Terran Mech army right here as if it was Bio. Normally, we don't really see this kind of approach, other than with, like, the Cyclone, Heli, and Hellbat style, where they are very mobile. Cure just simply moves onto the creep very, very aggressively, scans, kills the tumors, gets an expansion in a really critical position, and he just overwhelms Solar with pressure, right? Just constantly using that tempo advantage that he created for himself. Really nicely done. Now, I'm curious to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you think right now of late game TVZ? Because I haven't seen, like, I've casted a whole lot of games, right? But I haven't seen a lot of games where Zerg actually seems to be able to make a competent army. I don't know, maybe they pushed it a little bit too far when it comes to the Zerg nerfs. I guess only time will tell, though. I guess we won't really know until IEM Katowice rolls around, right? So the IEM Katowice qualifiers are going on right now. I'm excited to see what Cero and Raynor will bring to the party and what kind of strategies they will employ. Regardless, I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, hit that like button. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you once again in the next one.